February 2026, a Perth couple drove their 2022 Land Rover Discovery Sport to a dealership on Scarborough Beach Road. They had paid $79,000 for it new, full service history at an authorised dealer, one owner, 57,000 kilometres. Not a panel touched. The trade-in offer was $38,000. The husband asked if there had been a mistake. There had not. He took the offer because 3 other dealerships that week had said less. On the drive home in the car that would be collected the next morning, his wife pulled up their model on car sales. There were 11 identical vehicles listed. 7 of them had been sitting unsold for more than 45 days. That is not a bad day at a dealership. That is a market that has already moved on from a vehicle and left the owner holding the distance between what they paid and what the world is now willing to offer. Across Australia in 2026, that distance is widening on 9 specific vehicles simultaneously. The Australian Automotive Dealer Association's 2025 Insights report published a figure the mainstream motoring press spent exactly 1 news cycle on before moving on. A 1-year-old electric vehicle in Australia loses an average of 25% of its value. A comparable petrol vehicle loses 11.5%. Diesel, 5%. But this is not only an electric vehicle story. 4 of the 9 cars on this list run on petrol. All 9 share the same fingerprint. The market has already made its decision about them. The owners are the last to be told. 9 cars, ordered from least catastrophic to most. This is what is actually happening. Car 1. The Hyundai Ioniq Electric, sold in Australia between 2018 and 2022. Original drive-away price for the 2021 premium variant, $54,900 Australian dollars. Current Red Book trade-in valuation for a 2021 example with average kilometres, 23,500, a 43% retention rate, a loss of over $31,000 in 3 years, calculated monthly $860 every single month, on a car parked in a driveway doing nothing wrong. The Ioniq Electric was a well-built first-generation vehicle. The problem is not the car. The problem is that Hyundai replaced it with the Ioniq 5, a vehicle with 3 times the charging speed, double the range, and an entirely different platform. When a manufacturer publicly orphans a model with a clearly superior successor, the used market does not forgive it. Buyers standing in front of both cars ask one question: why would I pay anything near retail for the one that has already been replaced? There is no good answer. Which is why dealers stopped stocking used Ioniq Electrics at a price that leaves the current owner whole. The Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, sitting in the same showroom, is retaining over 82% of its value at the same age. The Ioniq Electric's Red Book figure moved 6 months before most owners noticed. By the time they ring the dealership, the offer has already been calculated. Car 2. The Volkswagen Tiguan second generation, built between 2016 and 2023. There are over 70,000 second-generation Tiguans on Australian roads right now. It is one of the most common European SUVs in the country, and the majority of them are fitted with the DSG dual-clutch gearbox carrying a documented failure pattern most owners have never been warned about. The DSG mechatronic unit, the electronic control module that manages the gearbox, fails in a predictable window between 100 and 140,000 kilometres. Replacement cost, parts and labour combined, at a Volkswagen dealer, between $4,200 and $5,500 Australian dollars. Volkswagen Australia extended the warranty on this component to 7 years following ACCC pressure. That extension has expired for every Tiguan built before 2017. Simultaneously, a new GWM Havol H6 Ultra is on Australian roads for less than $40,000. The Tiguan's value proposition, European engineering at a reasonable price, is being undercut from below, while the mechatronic risk compresses the resale ceiling from above. A 2017 or 2018 Tiguan owner is holding both pressures at once. The warranty that once protected the gearbox is gone. The workshops that would absorb the repair are increasingly referring it elsewhere. 2. Layers of protection have been removed from the same vehicle without a single announcement. The wholesale buyers at auction adjusted their numbers 6 months ago. The trade-in offer you receive next year is already calculated. Car 3. The MG ZS EV first generation, sold in Australia between 2021 and 2023. Original drive-away price for the 2022 long-range variant, 46,900 Australian dollars. Current Red Book trade-in valuation, 20,500. A 43.7% retention rate. A loss of over $26,000 in 3 years. Calculated monthly, over $720 every month for 3 years running. The MGZ SEV's problem is the most specific of any car on this list. It is being destroyed in the used market by its own manufacturer. MG Australia is now selling the MG4 and the second generation ZSEV at drive-away prices that directly undercut 3-year-old first-generation cars on the same showroom floor. A buyer walking into an MG dealership today can choose between paying around $20,000 for a 2022 ZSEV with 60,000 kilometers, or around $33,000 for a brand new MG4 with double the range, faster charging, and a full manufacturer's warranty. The used buyer does not choose the older car. If you own a first-generation MG ZSEV and you search your model on car sales this week, count how many listings have been sitting for more than 60 days. That number is not a coincidence. That is the market telling you what it will offer before you ask, and before you think this is purely an electric vehicle story. Car 4 runs on petrol, and the problem is worse. Car 4. The Alfa Romeo Stelvio sold in Australia between 2019 and 2022. For an owner who purchased a 2022 Stelvio Veloce at $87,000 and faces a current private market valuation of approximately $42,000, the 3-year loss calculates to over $45,000. Calculated monthly, over $1,200 every month on a car that drives normally and has never missed a service. But that figure does not include the timing chain. The Stelvio's 2-litre turbocharged engine has a documented timing chain tensioner failure pattern between 80 and 120,000 kilometres. It has been raised on every major Australian car forum. It was put formally to Alfa Romeo's Australian distributor in 2024. No recall has been issued. When this failure is caught early, the repair is around 3,500 Australian. When it is not caught early, it is a full engine replacement. Quotes from Sydney Alfa Romeo specialists in 2025 range between $18,000 and $24,000. Most independent mechanics will not quote on this job at all. The liability, the specialist tooling, the front subframe removal. It sits outside what a general workshop will accept. Used buyers researching the Stelvio know this. They have read the same forums. They have already priced in the question your car has not yet answered. Alfa Romeo's Australian dealer footprint has contracted by more than a third since 2015. The authorised service capacity shrank quietly, long before the resale figures moved. Car 5. The Land Rover Discovery Sport plug-in hybrid, sold in Australia between 2021 and 2024. For the Perth couple in the opening of this report, the trade-in reality was $38,000 on a $79,000 purchase. That is a monthly loss over 3 years of over $900, before a single repair. Here is what is producing that figure. Land Rover's Australian service network covers fewer than 30 authorised points nationally. For owners outside the 4 major capitals, the nearest authorised service is often more than 200 kilometres away. That alone is survivable. What is not survivable is what happens at the independent workshops regional Australians actually use. The proprietary diagnostic software costs over $4,000 Australian dollars per workshop per year. Just for the license. The air suspension system has a documented failure pattern between 60 and 90,000 kilometres. The replacement compressor is $2,500 in parts. Labour adds $1,500. The plug-in hybrid battery cooling pump shares no components with any other vehicle on Australian roads. When it fails, and it does, the waste. Time on a replacement part from the United Kingdom is 6 to 10 weeks, 3 separate failure vectors. Each one alone is manageable. Together they produce a vehicle the used market does not price with confidence, it prices it with fear. The independent workshop already answered this question. The trade-in offer answers it again. The owner is always the last person in that conversation. Car 6. The Jeep Grand Cherokee, every variant sold in Australia between 2018 and 2024. In early 2025, Jeep Australia officially removed the Grand Cherokee from its local lineup. Right-hand drive production of the current generation has reportedly ended. No replacement has been confirmed for this market. Owners of a 2019, 2020 or 2021 Grand Cherokee are holding a discontinued model from a contracting brand, and it carries 3 documented failure patterns that independent mechanics across the country are increasingly unwilling to quote on. The 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox valve body. Parts and labour, 4,800 Australian, that is the first one. The 5.7-litre Hemi-VEF 8-lifter and camshaft failure. Documented across every Jeep forum in Australia, raised formally in multiple ACCC complaints, between $11,000 and $14,000 to address properly. That is the second. The air suspension system failing in the same pattern and timeline as the Land Rover covered earlier on this list, 3,500 to 4,000 per axle. 3 failure modes, each carrying a 5-figure repair exposure. On a car the manufacturer has already discontinued. Calculated across documented depreciation and probable repair cost, a 2021 Grand Cherokee owner is absorbing effective monthly losses exceeding $900. The Jeep dealers who still exist adjusted their trade-in calculators when the discontinuation was confirmed. The owners adjusting to that reality are adjusting later. This channel publishes a new investigation every week into exactly what is moving in the Australian car market before most owners find out. Brand exits, resale crashes, workshop blacklists, financing tightening, the data that dealers and wholesalers already have, presented to the people who actually need it. Subscribe now. Every video could save you thousands of dollars on the car already in your driveway. Car 7. The Nissan Leaf, 2nd generation, sold in Australia between 2019 and 2024. Original drive-away price for the 2021 Leaf E Plus variant, $61,400 Australian dollars. Current Red Book trade-in valuation, $26,000. A 42% retention rate, a loss of over $35,000 in 3 years. Calculated monthly, $972 every month for a car that has never had a fault code and was serviced on schedule. The Leaf's specific problem sits inside the battery itself. Nissan chose an air-cooled battery pack to reduce manufacturing cost. Every other manufacturer now in the Australian electric vehicle market uses liquid-cooled packs. Air-cooled batteries degrade faster, particularly under Australian summer heat. Used Leaf buyers in 2026 arrive at inspections with battery health diagnostic applications on their phones. They walk away from any vehicle showing a state of health figure below 82%. The result? Most 3-year-old Leafs sit on dealer lots for over 90 days before selling. Dealers know this. The trade-in offer you receive on a Leaf reflects not just the depreciation, but the carrying cost of a vehicle the dealer already expects to struggle to move. 90 days on a dealer lot is not a number you are told when you receive the offer, it is already inside it. The market priced the Leaf's battery chemistry before the owners priced their exit. Car 8. The Tesla Model 3, standard range and long range variants sold in Australia between 2021 and 2023. Every car built before the Highland refresh arrived in late 2024. Original drive-away price for the 2022 standard range, plus 68,400 Australian. Current Red Book trade-in valuation, 28,000. A 40.9% retention rate, a loss of over $40,000 in 3 years. Calculated monthly, $1,111 every month on Australia's most recognisable non-luxury electric vehicle. 3 events drove this figure. Tesla cut the new Model 3 price. In Australia, 3 separate times between 2023 and 2025 by a combined $19,000. Every cut to the new price pulled the used price down beneath it. The Highland arrived. A used buyer can identify a pre-Highland car from a thumbnail photograph. They price it as the older generation immediately. Then, there is the service access. Tesla does not sell parts to independent workshops in Australia. The AAAA raised this formally with the federal government in 2025. Tesla's compliance with Australia's Motor Vehicle Information Sharing Scheme has been described by the association as minimal. Australian lenders have noted this shift. Major banks in 2026 are applying tighter loan-to-value ratios on pre-Highland Model 3 purchases, treating accelerated depreciation as an elevated lending risk. When the buyer who wants your car can no longer finance it at standard terms, your buyer pool just contracted to cash buyers only. The number of cash buyers in Australia has not expanded. Car 9. The BMW Fire X3, sold in Australia between 2022 and 2024. Original drive-away price for the 2022 model, $114,900 Australian dollars. Current Red Book trade-in valuation, $47,000, a 40.9% retention rate, a loss of nearly $68,000 in 3 years. Calculated monthly, $1,888 every month. That is more than the average Australian pays in weekly wages. On a car that drove normally, was serviced at a BMW dealer, and did exactly what it was purchased to do. The iX3 was a transitional vehicle. BMW built it on the petrol X3 platform with an electric drivetrain retrofitted into a chassis not designed for it. Range, charging speed, and interior packaging were all constrained by that compromise. BMW's purpose-built iX made the iX3 look like a previous era almost immediately. The Neue Klasse platform vehicles arriving from 2026 will confirm that entirely. Luxury buyers, the only Australians with the budget to buy these cars new, also have the budget to replace them. They are not choosing a 3-year-old transitional platform when the manufacturer's own current generation is built from the ground up. The used market for the iX3 is not making an error. It is making an accurate forecast of what the next generation of buyers will choose. The iX3 owners finding this out at the trade-in desk are the last people in that forecast to receive the result. Every car on this list shares one pattern. The market moved before the owner did. Dealers saw it in trade-in offers that stopped making commercial sense. Wholesalers saw it in auction results that adjusted without announcement. Independent workshops saw it in the jobs they quietly stopped accepting. Lenders saw it in loan-to-value ratios they recalculated without a press release. The owners saw it last. Every time. On every car on this list. That is not a failure of the market. That is how the market has always worked. The information exists. It does not travel to the people who need it most. Here is what you can do today. Go to redbook.com.au, pull the trade-in valuation for your specific vehicle, your year, variant, and kilometre range. Write that number down. Then, go to carsales.com.au, search your exact model, filter for listings that have been sitting for more than 45 days. Look at their asking prices. Subtract 15%. That number, not the Red Book estimate, not the dealer's first offer, is your trade-in reality in the current market. Both of those sources will tell you a more comfortable figure than what you just calculated. Neither of them is wrong. Neither of them is current. The benchmark used in every report on this channel is the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. Between 81 and 84% of value retained at 3 years. Financed without hesitation by every major lender. Accepted at every independent workshop in Australia without the pause on the phone that the cars on this list are now producing. The brands that protect your investment are the ones the Australian market still trusts when everything else contracts. That list has always been short. In 2026, it is getting shorter. Subscribe to the Car Market Report.